Hello, my name is Corey Pritchard, head financial engineer with True Financial Engineering, and I want to take a few moments to put something together for you, your family, and your future financial legacy. And for most people, they may or may not know who I am. I'm not going to actually introduce myself in the beginning of this. I'll actually do that on the back end. So the most important thing is not who I am, but what it is that I'm looking to provide to you, what benefits that you can gain from this information. So, for many people, you probably never heard the term financial engineer. And even if you haven't heard the term true financial engineer. So, for most people, the first question that you probably ask is, what is the difference between a financial engineer and I guess what you would consider to be a planner, a financial planner, right? So, with my history and background, I am very familiar with those individuals that wear the hat of a financial advisor, those who have maybe been licensed to do such or have worked for different companies that just have taken them through their own independent training. And the reality is, just to be honest, okay, now, listen to me when I say this. I'm not saying all financial planners are broke. I'm not saying that, but that would be like me saying that all doctors are sick, right? Or all doctors are overweight, right? So I have to be honest and not put a broad brush across the entire industry. But from what I've seen, I am just going to be honest with you. I have gone through some of those training, worked with some of those companies, dealt with some of those people, and most of them are broke. Okay, and that's just the reality of it. So when I say broke, what I mean is a person that's living on 100% of their income or possibly over, right? So in this age that we're living in, because debt is so accessible, then we could easily go right past 100%, right, and live more on more than 100% of our income. So what I'm saying is that the information normally that is provided from financial planners or so-called financial planners, it's not wealth, right? It has not wealth centered. The goal is not for you to be able to arrive at a wealthy position at any time at all for some people, and definitely not within a time before you retire, right? So the goal is to get you into a position of so-called wealth when you retire, right? Aiming at a 65 or 70 year, age 70 or 65-year target. But the reality is you have an entire life, a working life that you want to spend with your family, dreams and goals that you'd like to accomplish, all those types of things. So the reality is that we have been more or less fatted up, right? And we're being fattened for the slaughter. So there are dreams that are being built. There are legacies that are being built from the resources that we're putting into some of these products. Okay. And again, so if you're a financial advisor, maybe you're one of the people that are so-called doing well, then obviously this is not for you. But for the others that are overly, I guess the living on way too much of the income, have way too many loans, like all those types of things, and then we're trying to advise people. Chances are they're getting the same results, right? So if you've ever paid money for a financial advisor, then you know what I'm saying, right? So what we're going to do is have some real direct conversation today. Okay, so a financial engineer. The reason why I actually would consider myself to be a financial engineer is because I use everything available as far as technology. Obviously there could be new knowledge and information as it concerns dealing with wealth and wealth accumulation, right? So my goal is to use access to all of that information in order to put together a plan that allows you to be able to efficiently and effectively reach your goals, right? So some of the stuff that I may do may be untraditional in some ways, right? But the reality is, again, this is a tool that I recognize that can be used in order to achieve the goal of wealth and riches, right? So I don't plan for any brokenness, not for myself, not for my family, not for my legacy. So I don't want to plan for any brokenness or lack for you and your family, right? So what we'll do is we'll start with a slide that I actually put together, and the focus of this conversation is actually going to be for what they would consider to be estate planning, right? And I know that that may not seem like the most exciting term, right? I have to use that term because that's what most people are actually accustomed to. But the reality is, when you come to what we consider to be an estate plan or estate planning, there's a lot that goes into it, and really, it is a wealth conversation, right? It should be a wealth conversation. Could be a rich, right, conversation. It should be a very positive conversation. Obviously, it's focused on death, or could be focused on death, but it doesn't have to be a negative conversation. So, what I'd like to do is just share a few things in that lane. Okay, so this is a marketing piece that I put together. So the first way I'll start here, just to be plain and basic before we get into some other things, is if you haven't already sat down and documented what you actually have and where you want those things to go, then the reality is we leave our family at risk, right? So this is not a conversation to scare you. It's not a scare tactic. The reality is that we have today, right? We're not guaranteed to have tomorrow, but we have today. So given that we have today, then we can make the opportunity, right? We won't find it, but we can make the opportunity to sit down and at least write down what I have that I feel like is important to me, right? As an individual. And then what would I like to have happen with those things upon my departure, right? So if something were to happen to me, who would I like to get those things, right? So at least I could write those things down. But for most people, because we get busy, it's not a case where, we're selfish or really thinking bad. It's just a case where we get busy and we don't like death. We don't want to think about the idea of us not being here, right? Our spirits leaving our bodies, right? We don't want to think about that's a very negative idea. But the reality is our families deserve it. So the first way I started was just wanted to make sure I could make it plain and simple. If you don't have a living will, then I can help with that, right? Not a hard thing. Then it's a case where I can help either way. Now I'm saying here, right, that if you don't have a living will, that I can help you get one set up and have it updated every single year. And I said we can do that for less than $1 a day, right? That is very possible. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can go here. We're actually going to go to this page is where we're going to go to next, or you feel free if you want to have a conversation, just talk about it. Then you can actually text this word living will to 937-529-8710, right? Or you can call and leave a voicemail if you'd like to do that. But the reality is that we shouldn't allow another opportunity to go by, to pass us by, which is what today is. It's just an opportunity to put something in place that will benefit our family, right, for the future, right? You work hard, right? Go to work every single day. You plan, you sacrifice. What sense does it make to have all of those things be up in the air and allow someone else to decide who's going to get what and what they're going to get when they're going to get it? It doesn't make any sense. Okay. So with that being said, then what I'd like for us to do is we're going to go to the page that I actually shared there. So if you're not familiar with our home, then I encourage you to go out, get familiar with our home. I actually built this website some years ago, been adding to it over time. So I'm excited about it, right? It may not be the most exciting website that you've ever seen, but the tools that you need to be able to move forward financially, they're there. Okay. So here you see the storehouse. I encourage, if you've never heard that concept before, I encourage you to go out and take a look at Storehouse of Wealth. You can click this button. You can actually send an email to storehouseofwealth@gmail.com if you want to learn more information. You'll get an auto response with a first video, very short video. If you qualify after that, then you can actually qualify to get more information if you'd like to, all at no expense to you, right? So that information is there. So what we're going to go into here from this homepage, if you click on plan your estate, okay, and we're going to spend some time here just having a conversation. And again, these are not numbers to try to scare you, nothing like that, but this is something that it will be a great investment of your time. So I'm telling you right now that the time that we spend here on this recording together is that it has the potential, it has the seeds in it to be able to produce a great harvest for multiple generations of your legacy, right? It will benefit you if you allow it. It has the potential to change your life, have life change for you, but it also has the potential of producing life change for legacies, generations. Does that make sense of what I'm saying? Not just your legacies, but an infinity amount of legacies that will be stemmed from you if you will take heed to the information I'm sharing today. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So what I did for my own self is I wanted to get a better idea of how this whole estate planning thing worked out. I didn't know, right? That growing up as a child and as a young man, never heard anything. Obviously, when people die, that they don't really let the children or the young people get involved with that. So I knew that there was a funeral, right, that wasn't free. Never knew how that was paid for. Uh, didn't know how anything else worked out. So in this place in my life, I started to actually have some experiences, right? One scenario is there was a vehicle that is available. A person died and they didn't have I guess a title for the car, and they didn't designate who would actually get the car if something were to happen. So now you got this car that nobody can do anything with, and it's amazing, right? This car, you can't get a title for it, and if you can't have a title, then you can't scrap it, right? It just was a crazy thing to understand that this probate thing could hold up all of that. So I got really interested in the probate process. And as a part of that, you'll see some of the things I actually learned. I want to share those things with you so it can be a benefit to you and your legacy. Okay, so just follow me with some of this. Okay, so what I would encourage you to do is that you should be comfortable and make it a habit of building your life on truth. Okay, so myself, for me personally, I decided that I wanted to seek the highest truth for myself to build my life on. I don't encourage you or force you to take on any of that, right? That's just something I have so done for my own self. So when I said this reality of me working as a financial engineer, I wanted to be able to have access to the best tools possible to be able to help you be able to generate a plan that will work effectively to get you to a goal of wealth and rich. Does that make sense? So with that being said, then I chose to use the Bible, okay, for myself. Just historically, it has so many truths that haven't changed, right? A lot of things that were said that actually beforehand that actually took place. And it's a ton of stuff, including things about finances, right? Things about wealth and riches, things about how these principles are actually put in place, laws that if I align with those laws, then it'll work for me, right? But they will also work for anyone else that uses them. So that's the highest truth that I go by, specifically the kingdom of God. Okay, things concerning the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven. Those things, again, just to dial it in and be more specific for me, are things that have impacted my life, changed, and helped me. So I understand the value of truth, right? I understand the value of truth. And dealing with that, then when I'm dealing with something like this, estate planning conversation, then I want to get as much truth as I can. I don't want opinions, right? I can't play with time, play with people's future, nothing like that. I have to be able to establish everything on truth. So what I suggest you do is get familiar with some sites. Okay, one organization that I would encourage that you get familiar with and get familiar with their website is the Centers for Disease and Control, right? That is CDC. And now I believe it's Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. I think it's what they've actually changed the name to. And is everything on there 100% accurate? Probably not, right? But it is as accurate as it can be, right? And at least it gives you an idea of some things, some trends, all those types of things that we should pay attention to. So I suggest that you do that. Another place is WHO, okay, the World Health Organization, has a lot of phenomenal information. Again, these people are paid to generate this information and to share it with the public and the world. So I encourage that you look at that. So one place that I went to again was the CDC, the Centers for Disease and Control, and I actually pulled off this statistic. And what I wanted to know was I was trying to get an idea, okay, based on what I knew about just finding out a little bit more about estate planning. As I found out, not just for myself, again, I was thinking about my own personal experience. I wasn't familiar with people that actually put stuff in place, right? I never saw that. But then I said, okay, other people, I'm not really hearing a lot of those things as far as conversation that people are really involved in this estate planning process, okay? And I hear about stories, from so-called wealthy people in books, right, and other places where that conversation comes up. But for the masses, I don't hear that conversation. So I wanted to know, like, is it just me and my family that's been impacted by that? Is it just pockets of people, say, like based on income or culture, that are being affected by that? Or is this a pandemic? Is this a problem that we all are facing? That's what I want to know. So this is what I found out. I found out this is that over 3.5 million Americans, then they died in 2020. Okay. Again, this is according to the CDC, according to what they report as far as death. So again, there's 3.5 million Americans. Okay. And it says here that over okay, well, actually, this is the way that I had to get the information I needed, okay, to have this truth that I'm coming to. So I got that from the CDC, and then from another source, then I had to go and do research to figure out how many Americans actually have an estate plan in place. Does that make sense? So I'm noticing that 3.5 million Americans died in 2020, but the CDC didn't give me the information that I was looking for as far as how many of those people actually had an estate plan. Okay, and you'll get an idea of what I mean by estate plan as we moving forward. So what I found was that according to these conservative statistics, that around 68% of Americans, okay, it says over half of those Americans did not have any estate plan in place. Okay, and again, these are just pulling out information, so you can go to any place and you can pull up your own numbers, but still anything over 50%, really over 25%, right, should be an alarm. But again, we're talking about numbers that could be as high as 68% of people that did not have an estate plan in place, even though we had that many people die. Okay, continue to follow me. So what I said was, what if 50% of those people died without an estate plan? Okay, so I said, okay, I'm saying maybe that number is overstated. Maybe it's not 60%. What if it was just 50% of the people that died without an estate plan? Okay, so you see my math there, 3.5 million. Okay, and I multiplied that out by 50, and what I came up with is 1.75, 1,750,000 people, right? And that's a large number if you think about it, because that number doesn't just represent the individual. That number represents families, right? Whole generations of people that are impacted by that one individual dying and not having an estate plan in place. Does that make sense? So it's not just the individual, but say if you have that number on a conservative basis, and you say that the individual had 3 family members, which we know that it's going to be more than that. But what if it was just 3 family members that were directly impacted by their death? Then you can multiply 1,750,000 by 3, right? Or 5 or 6, right? And you can see the impact that this has on so many people with a person not having an estate plan in place. Does that make sense? Okay, so again, I said, now what if this number is close? Okay, and it actually is 68%. Okay, then the same way, I just went and I multiplied that out, and then that number would be closer to 2,380,000 people. And again, taking the same notion, if you understand what I'm saying, then we can multiply that number by, say, 3 people that's impacted by this individual's death, right? Or 5 or 6 or 10 individuals that are directly impacted by this person's death and them not having an estate plan. So you can see how this is a state of emergency, right? It should be a state of emergency. Is when we find numbers like this, then we say this is a huge problem, right? Huge problem. So, and again, when I'm looking at stuff like this is the reason why I say that the importance of having an engineering type mindset and approaching finances is vital, right? Because I'm not waiting for someone else to give me information. I'm not waiting for someone else to prepare something that's going to tell me basically how to be broke and continue to be broke. I don't want that. Why? Because I'm dealing with a person who probably doesn't want wealth, doesn't study wealth, right? It think that they want riches or idea of riches that may not truly align with the reality of the way that it should be. And now that person's going to put together some material and they're going to give it to me, right? And I'm subject to that material and its writers. No, I'm not going to do that, right? So I don't want to do that for me, and I don't want to do that to you. So what I ask here is that we think about it. Okay. So again, this is how we digest the information. Statistics are awesome, but they're only as good as how we actually can interpret those and be able to qualify that information, right? That's as good as it gets. So the numbers itself is alarming, but what are we going to do with those numbers? I'm asking, what does that mean? Okay, so I'm saying that between 1,750,000 people and 2,380,000 people, Americans specifically, American families were impacted by failing to plan their estates. And again, I'm not even counting the family members themselves. I'm just counting the people, the individual that died. So imagine how great this number is. And this is just 1 year, right? This is not multiple years. This is just given what happened in 2020. Okay. But obviously, if you go to the CDC, you go to WHO, you can see that they're reporting a higher death rate during this so-called time of pandemic with the coronavirus, right? So there's a higher number for 2021, 2022. That number of deaths actually is higher. Isn't that crazy? So here's what I'm at. Here's what I'm saying. I'm asking, why have so many Americans failed to plan their estate? Isn't that a good question, right? Because this is obviously an issue that a majority of Americans are dealing with. So why? Why? Right? Why are we failing to plan these estates? And I'm asking here, and I'm saying I'm not sure why they did not. But I'm asking you to take a moment and think, why don't you have a will or a trust in place? So I'm making it more specific. So I'm not just saying estate planning in general. Now I'm saying a will, okay, in specific, or a trust in specific, than you individually, right? Because if you're under the sound of my voice, then you're falling under those same numbers, right? So about between 50 and 68% of the people that are hearing this recording don't have a will and or trust in place, do not have any estate plan in place, right? So I know that you're guilty, right? Because most of us are. So I'm gonna continue on. If you have one, then my question is, then what prevents you from updating it every year, right? Because we continue to accumulate, right? We could accumulate or we could sell. Things change, right? Normally on a year-to-year basis. So once we put it in place, then would you believe that something that you put in place maybe 10 years ago, that it still should be valid today, right? Something that was put in place 20 years ago, should it be valid today? You understand what I'm saying? So the no-brainer answer is obviously no. We need to have those things updated. Okay, so just continue it on. Then my question was, when was the last time that you reviewed your estate plan? Okay, when was the last time it was updated? So for one, do you have an estate plan? And if you did put one in place at some point, then when was the last time that you updated it, right? And this is not, again, to condemn you, right? Before I came under the assumption of any of this information, I was guilty as charged, right? I still have individuals that I love dearly that I'm trying to reach out to so that we can get that situation in place. So a majority of the people I know still have this same thing. So I'm just asking, if you did it, then when was the last time it was updated? Okay, so think about that. Has your life changed over the previous 2, 3, or 5 years or more? Okay, have there been any changes? Is everything exactly the way it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, or 5 years ago? Right? Does your estate plan reflect those changes? Right? And this is an honest answer. So for most of us, absolutely not. It doesn't reflect those changes. So I'm saying here, death is not if, but when. So pay attention. And we know that, okay, but we have to act in such a way. Death is not a situation where we are trying to figure out if, again, we're going to die. It's a case where we know that we're going to die. We just don't know when or how, right? So I'm asking, so when we die, what will happen? Here's the question. Okay, so we know that it's going to happen. So the question you should ask for yourself is not, again, you individually. This is not that type of conversation where what's going to happen to you when you die as an individual, but what will happen to your family and your legacy? How will that impact the people that are still living when you go? Does that make sense? How will your loved ones and business partners know how to divide your assets? Think about what I'm saying. If it happened today was the last day, how will that impact your family tomorrow? Right? Will it impact them for the good or the bad? Does that make sense? How will it change the course of their life with you not being around? And how will it change the course of their life if what you did amounted to confusion, right, and disorder, and there was no plan in place for your transition? Does that make sense? Okay, so again, another question is, do you want to decide what happens after you are gone, or do you want to roll the dice, which is exactly what happens, on who will make that decision? Because if you don't decide, if I don't decide who makes that decision, then it's going to be a roll of the dice for who's going to make those decisions on those things. Okay, how will your decision affect those who you will leave behind, those who I leave behind? Think about that. Okay, in what ways will it impact them? If we don't have it in place, will they continue to have the home? Right? Who's going to get the home? All right. If you have a vehicle, if you don't have those things in place, who's going to get the vehicle? Right? Or how is that things? Will they even be able to get the vehicle at all? Right? These things are things we should not assume. Okay, so just continuing to move on, just allow our minds to continue to think about that. And it's not about the condemnation, but as I'm talking, begin to think about the people that you love and what you want for them. Does that make sense? And know that if you don't determine it in writing and put it in a legal way, then that is very likely not to happen for them. Does that make sense? And just having cash is not good enough, right? Understand that having money in a bank account or having money under your mattress or those types of things that people believe that are wealthy, right? That maybe are rich, but you haven't put anything in place. You don't understand the disaster that you're leaving your family for. It is not a safe situation. So this is not a money issue, right? So if you have $2 or $2 million, it is still a case where it's not a money issue, right? It's about a will issue, right? What is on your heart? What's on your mind? What would you want to have established? And is it in writing? Does that make sense? Okay, so just some more questions. So here's what I said, that for an individual, these are some things I would say that maybe would keep us from not putting an estate plan in place. One is, I don't have any money, right? I absolutely could see that. Another one is believing that it takes so much time, and for a really, really busy person that says, I don't have any time, right? I don't have enough time to establish an estate plan. Okay. Another one is, I don't know what to do, right? Very, very common, right? And I would say these excuses are spot on, right? I say that most people would fall into at least one of those categories, maybe more than one of those categories. So the question is, if you could afford it, right? If it was a case where it was within your time, that you could actually work it out within your time, and if you knew exactly what to do, then what would be your excuse, right? Would you have any more excuses? So there, I obviously say no more excuses. So some of the things I put together here kind of give us a little bit a better idea, just education wise, of what is this estate planning. Okay, so I said that no matter what the barrier has been in the past, today is your day. No more excuses, right? So I'm going to pull down the bar, is what I'm doing here, so low that no person will have any excuse. Okay, no excuse. So I'm saying that you have this information now, okay, or you're going to have it, right? So I ask this common question because sometimes we use words that we don't understand, and we're not humble enough sometimes to ask or to go seek out the information. So what is estate planning? So estate planning is defined as arranging for the disposition and management of one's estate at death through the use of wills, trust, insurance policies, and other devices. Does that make sense? Okay, and I actually put there, this is the Webster's definition. Okay, so you feel free to go find whatever dictionary or place that you like to find as a source, but that is a very solid definition of estate planning. Okay, so that makes sense. Should make more sense, a little bit clearer about what estate planning is. Each state has slightly different rules that are upheld in probate court, but all have the duty of carrying out your written will after your death. So don't miss how important this is, what I'm saying. So sometimes we could look at the judge as being your enemy or the state as being your enemy for any family that's had to go through an expensive probate process, things didn't work out the way that you want them to work out, whatever it is, here, pay attention, okay, to what is happening in every state in the United States. It is, again, it is their duty to carry out the written will of the individual after the person's death. Now, here's the challenge. Think about what we're talking about here. We're talking about between 50 and 68% of Americans die without an estate plan in place, die without a disposition of management, right? Die without a will, die without a trust, die without insurance policies, or other devices. So how is it that a judge or a probate court can carry out a written will of a person that dies with nothing written? Does that make sense? Okay, so I said here, the question is, how can a probate judge uphold our wishes in court if our wishes have not been written down or presented, right? You see the dilemma that we put the court in, right? And I put this beautiful face here because I want us to understand that if we don't do this, which is talking about here in this probate process, and do it correctly, then these are the individuals that suffer from it, right? Yes, it could be a wife, right? It could be, someone that's older, but ultimately it's going to be the youngest people, going to be the youngest people in multiple generations that suffer for our lack of planning. Okay, and that happens with just about anything, but lack of planning is usually the problem. Okay, so let's continue on. So there are many options for estate planning. Okay, I said I'm not going to list every option, but I will suggest 3. Okay, so I want to make sure, again, we all at least have the information we need to take action today if we choose to. So I said choose any option that works best for you. Okay, so I'm saying begin your estate plan now, not just today, right? Really, I should have put right now, right? Not just now, but right now. So if you listen to the recording, you can stop, pause, and you can go ahead and take care of it and come back and listen to the recording, right? So it's important to do it now, not just today, right? But right now. Okay, so this is important. I'll say this before I move forward. As a part of being a financial engineer, estate planning license is not there, right? So I am not a lawyer, right? I don't have any license for estate planning. I carry licenses in life and health and property and casualty. I don't have any license in what's called estate planning. So this information is for more or less educational purposes. I don't set up an estate plan. So I got to make sure I'm very honest about that. What I'm doing is pointing to individuals and resources that are legally able to help you set up an estate plan. Does that make sense? So one option that I would suggest is that you could actually do it yourself. It's a DIY, do it yourself will. So you could actually do that. Doesn't cost you anything or very little. Okay. So in many states, it's simple as grabbing a sheet of paper and a pen or a pencil. And lastly, 2 witnesses. So you have to go to your specific state, look at the probate laws for your specific state, and they tell you what the requirements are of what will be upheld in the probate court. Does that make sense? So in the state of Ohio, which is where I am, this is legal. And in some of the other states, this is also legal. But in your state, then they may require something else. Okay, so you want to make sure that you check on it. It could be a case where in your state, it could need to be notarized, right? Possibly, right? So you want to make sure that you understand exactly what's going to legally be upheld in the probate court. But if nothing else, still start the process. So if you start the process, get 2 witnesses to sign it, and you have to get it notarized, fine. You've done most of the work. You just got to go get it notarized, right? So it's just a case where starting the process is going to be far more beneficial than not starting the process. So again, in the state of Ohio, then you can make sure that you're writing down. So you list everything that you have on the piece of paper. You can go into as much detail or as little detail as you want to. But obviously, if you put as much detail as you can, then there's not going to be any question what your will is when it comes down to probate courts. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm saying that some states may ask you to have your document notarized, but many are legally recognized with the signature of 2 witnesses that have nothing to gain from your estate. So pay attention. So it can't be a person that you list in your estate. The person that you list on your will. It has to be someone that's not listed on your will, and someone that cannot gain from your death. Does that make sense? Okay, so simply list your assets and what you want to happen with them after you die. So be as detailed as possible. Have your witnesses sign it along with yourself. Then tell someone where you are storing your document, right? Does that make sense? Grab a piece of paper, write down all your stuff, decide on that paper who you want to get it, how you want those things to be carried out, when you die. Have these two witnesses sign it, you sign it, and then you put it in a place where you tell other people where it's at, right? Does that make sense? It really is that simple. Okay, so it's also helpful if your witnesses add their contact information in case the judge needs them to verify your will in probate court. I would say that was very important. So if you get two complete strangers that you don't know, there's no contact information on your will. If it goes to court and there's any kind of discrepancy, any kind of thing that they need to verify, now you got two witnesses that they can't find. Okay, so it would be nice if you actually told the judge how to find these witnesses, so that if they had to call them into probate court, then they could say, "Yeah, I sat down on this date and time, and I saw this individual write down this information. Yes, that's my signature, right?" So it has a better chance of being upheld in court. This is as little as at no cost to you at all, right? It's that simple. This is not the best way, of course, but it's of great value, right? It's a great start. So what I did was I provided a link that will allow you to download and complete a document to make everything more simple. Do you need it? No, right? You can just have a sheet of paper. But they also have a template that you can actually pull out. So you can grab a template. Okay, you can go ahead and fill it in, sign it, have those two witnesses sign it, and then you tell others where that document is, so when something happens and they know where to find it. Okay, there are many resources available online, so I encourage you to find one that works best for you in your state. Okay, I'm not telling you that this is the best one, don't get me wrong. I'm just giving you a way, but there are many ways and there are many resources, and there are multiple states. So find the document that works best for you, okay, in your state according to those laws. Number two is another option. If you choose to, then you can actually pay an attorney or a law firm, right? You can go out, call any attorney, right? Obviously, it should be with someone that practices in that area of law. But call an attorney, call a law firm, let them know that you want to set up a living will and testament, okay, and a power of attorney, and they'll help you do that. Okay, that's one option you could do. So this option, it shouldn't exceed, I wouldn't say more than $100, and it should be updated each year to ensure accuracy, right? So that's something you can do if you don't want to go out to a law firm. This is a company that actually works online. It is a online law firm, more or less. It's called LegalZoom. I'm not getting any kickback on this. Okay, I don't know anything more than I know that this company has been offering products for a number of years. Okay, so if you want to do research on them to see what experience people have had with them, all those types of things, do that. Okay, I'm not endorsed by them, and I'm not endorsing them. It's just a place that you can look at. Okay, so LegalZoom is a company that offers to provide help with this option. I suggest doing your own research is what I'm suggesting. If you choose option number one or option number two, then you choose an option and a company that feels right for you. Okay, again, this is your life, your legacy, so it's very important. Come to your own conclusion, right? Gather the information, come to your own conclusion, and you won't feel bad about that. Okay, so I personally did not go either route. Okay, I didn't go that route for estate planning, but I want to make sure that you have something to start with. Okay, so you must always do your own research and determine what works best for you based on your personal goals and your financial ability. Okay, so I put a note here. Paying more is not always better, but paying less is not always cheaper. Do you understand what I'm saying? So sometimes we can go the cheapest route or seek to go the cheapest route, and it could end up costing us and our family far more in the future. Sometimes we assume that just because it costs a lot of money, that it's the best, okay? And not necessarily, okay? So make sure you're evaluating it both ways to, again, discover something that works best for you, okay? I hope that makes sense. And I did put the link there from LegalZoom. If you'd like to find out more information about what they're offering, feel free to go out there, but definitely do your own research. Now, this is the option I actually took advantage of myself. Again, this is one for me that it made it so that, again, the bar came so low that I just had to say, okay, I just don't want to do it if I don't want to do it. Okay, because Money wise, I couldn't use that excuse because it's around $1 a day that I'm actually paying to be able to have access, not just to this benefit, but other benefits with this membership. Couldn't say that. Time, right? Not going to be able to say that because they actually had an app that I download on my phone that allows me to access the services that they offer, including this will preparation. So I download the app, I tap on will preparation, they ask me questions, right? That's tough because it really didn't take that much of my time. And then I can't say that I don't know, right? I can't say that I don't know because they tell me everything I need to know and they walk me through it. So for me, that made it so I didn't have any more excuses. So I said this option, it cost me about $360 a year. Okay, not just for the will preparation, but again, access to all these legal benefits that I have. And as a part of that, this is one of the benefits. It's about $30 a month. Okay. And it not only covers me, but it covers my entire family. So it's not just me, right, as an individual. It actually covers my entire household. So I'm saying that this is the route that I chose based on my previous experience with this providing company. Okay, because I had already worked with this company. Again, with this membership, I used the other services, so I felt very, very comfortable, right? Also, it aligned with my goals. Okay, it also aligned with the ease of initial setup, which I needed. Okay, I didn't want to go through a big complicated process. It also aligned with my desire to be able to update this process at least every year, right? So if nothing changes, you don't have to do it every year, but it made the bar so low so that I can actually update it every year if I need to. Does that make sense? So instead of paying for services of one attorney for a specific concern, then I chose to have access to a network of law firms across the entire country. That's what I chose. Okay. So I had this service for at least 3 years before I actually put my living will in place. Isn't that sad? Right. So if you think that you're guilty, right, or feeling bad, I'm worse than you. I had access to it. They made the bar so low, and it still took me at least 3 years to actually put a living will in place, right? And that's sad. For me, honestly, I didn't want to deal with death. I didn't want to deal with the idea of death. Even though I'm licensed in life insurance, my training teaches me to go into a household and kill at least one of the people that's sitting in front of me, right? And what they say is, you just talking to you. Say, hey, what if Johnny dies today? What's that gonna look like for you? Hey, what if Sue dies today? What's that gonna look like for you? That's what I was taught to do. So even though I went into multiple households doing that with people, I myself still didn't want to face the reality of what death meant for other people that I was leaving behind. So I didn't put it in place. I also had the excuse of time. Okay. I didn't want to face the reality of what my net worth is. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to sit down and put it on paper and realize this is what my net worth actually is. Right. That was for me. So those are my issues I was dealing with that caused me to be reluctant. Okay. So continuing on. I personally did not like the idea of making plans for after my own death. Okay. I also did not want to face the reality of my actual net worth. Once I got past my personal thoughts, then I simply opened the provided app on my cell phone. I answered all the will preparation questions in about 30 minutes. Okay. And it varies by each individual. No, depends on how much you actually have and all those types of things. But it's still a case where it's very a reasonable amount of time that you invest to be able to do that. And you don't have to do it in one setting. You could start it, okay, do 15 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 5, and you can do it in multiple breakdowns of time so that you don't have to allot at 30 minutes altogether or an hour altogether. Maybe you're just spending a few minutes each day to get it done within a week or a couple weeks or something like that, okay, depending on how much stuff that you actually have. So after that, then I submitted the form, okay. Then I received a call from my attorney in about 10 minutes, okay, which is amazing. And that took about 10 minutes to actually review my responses. So I'll make sure I'm saying that correctly. I don't think the attorney called me in 10 minutes. I actually sent the form, and then within 24 hours, the attorney called me, and we sat on the phone for not more than 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes, and we reviewed the responses that I actually entered in. Then what happened is they went through the process of putting the will in place, as far as preparing it. Then I received my living will and testament in the mail within a few weeks. Isn't that awesome? Right? I was done. I felt responsible. I actually felt like an adult is what it did for me. I was like, man, I actually made a very good decision. It's a responsible decision. I feel like an adult. Okay. So it was wonderful for me. Tremendous amount of peace of mind. Okay. Yeah, I'm saying here that it felt great. Okay. I felt responsible. Okay. I'm married with 3 kids and a dog. I said that they deserved having a written plan in place. Okay. I am responsible for actually initiating the process of updating my will each year, but it's that simple, right? So they made all the tools available. I was able to update it. If I choose not to update it, that's on me. In the same way that I had access to being able to set the will up initially, it went 3 years before I actually did it. But the beauty is now I know that that's my responsibility and I have no excuses, right? So it helps me to know that's something I can do. Okay, so now I feel comfortable helping others do that. Okay, so what I did was to put some documents here in place for you. So if you are interested in actually putting something in place, okay, obviously you have option 1 and 2, but if you'd like to take advantage of option number 3, then I did put some information there about some other benefits that's available with that plan. Okay, so you can actually click on their legal plan details. It breaks down other benefits that you have. For some people, then one benefit that they would like to have in addition to what's provided there as far as the legal benefits is they are very concerned about identity theft. Okay, and that is another thing that people should be aware of because it happens, and it's sad that it happens, but it does happen, and you feel violated, you feel terrible, and there's hours that have to be invested if you have to go back to restore your identity, even though you didn't do anything wrong. So if that's something you'd like to have more information about, it's there. Okay. If you decide to take this option that I'm saying to you, that you can click here. Okay. I put here, start planning my estate now. So you click there, there's a drop down box, pick your state, pick the plan that you would like. Okay. You can have some other bells and whistles that you'll see this offer there. If you'd like to take advantage of that, you can. But the basic membership will take care of it. Then what happens is once you actually enroll yourself, make your payment, then you'll get an email which gives you your username and password. Once you have your username and password, then they show you how you can download the app to your phone, or you can go online and you can actually access your account. And now you can go ahead and set that process in place where you can go ahead and have your will prepared. Isn't that awesome, right? To be able to go ahead and have that done. Okay, so what I would suggest is, because the membership is a very valuable membership, then at least keep the membership for a year. Okay, and the reason why I'm saying that is because in my experience using this membership, there are months that go by where I don't have to do anything with the membership. Okay, I haven't had anything go on where I have no need for the membership. But here's what happens: is that there's going to be a situation, right? One situation is going to happen that makes it so it makes the membership all worth the while. If I only use it that 1 or 2 times during the year, it makes it all the worth it. So one situation for me is I had a debt that had gone unpaid. I was looking to resolve the situation with the debt. Didn't do it in a timely manner. They called. Actually, they didn't call. They actually sent me a letter. First time I ever got a letter for being sued for a debt. I had never had it. You talking about freaked out? Got the letter in the mail telling me that I was being sued for this debt and all the consequences of not responding. Man, I was freaked out, right? So the first thing that came to me was I have access to a law firm, not just an attorney. Let me call my attorney, right? So I called the law firm. They had someone call me. I believe I actually got a call back that same day. The lawyer was phenomenal. She was very helpful, not just knowledgeable. She was sweet. She was understanding and made recommendations of what I should do. I took advantage of that. Called that company, got everything worked out, and it worked out beautifully, right? The peace of mind alone was worth it for me. Another situation is that I have a dog, an older dog. He's like 15. He's a black lab Doberman Pinscher mix, and his hind legs are kind of losing some strength. We're trying to get that back up, and it's a case where we have been giving him some vitamins to try to help with that situation. And because of that, then we have 3 patio steps that he has to go down. So he's jumping off the patio steps, okay, with, again, his hind legs not being as strong as they normally would be. So because of that, then it caused some damage, I guess, or injury to his right leg. So he jumped off, okay, and he's limping around the yard. Okay, it's not the first time it happened. But this day, what happened was we left him outside and we went to basketball practice. I actually had to take my son to basketball practice. And we came back, and the animal control vehicle was sitting in front of my house. I'm like, what in the world is going on? So long story short, the animal control lady said somebody called, saw this dog limping around, wondered if the dog had been harmed in some way. And I ended up, I didn't have my dog license, right? I hadn't had him licensed, so I had to get a what is it called, a ticket for that, right? I'm thinking, whoa, I got to get a ticket for that. So yeah, I got to get a ticket for that. And in addition to that, she said, hey, you got this amount of time to be able to have him seen by a vet. You know, if you don't do that, then you could have some other consequences. I'm like, man, this is crazy, right? So what do I do? So I'm thankful, okay, that again, I have this membership. So what do I do is I fax the ticket and the card that the individual gave me to the attorney, made a phone call. Attorney calls me. We have a conversation. He walked me through everything. And I made a decision what's based on best for me based on his recommendation. Powerful, right? Just wonderful situations like that. The last example I'll give is the probate process, right? Very complicated. I have no idea still a lot about the probate process. So again, dealing with that car, trying to figure out like, how do I, just deal with all of these things, and dealing with a car that should be in probate, but it wasn't added to probate. Nobody can do anything as far as getting the car titled or anything without this process being in place. So same thing, called the attorney, was able to get some phenomenal advice. So that helped me out. They gave me peace of mind, and I knew what I should do based on that information. So again, even if you don't use this membership outside of the will for 3-6 months, I'm telling you, when something happens and you actually use the membership, it's going to be more than worth that $360 that you paid for the year. Okay, if you want to, you can go out, you can research how much it costs to have an attorney on retainer. Like, what does that look like to actually retain an attorney? What are the fees, for being able to prepare certain documents, to review documents, right? If you're sued, right, how much will it cost you to be able to defend yourself? Even if you're innocent, how much will it cost to actually defend yourself? Get an idea of what those costs are. And then also figure out, if that situation happened and you need an attorney, how would you know which one to work with? How do you know who's good and who's bad, right? Who's vetting the attorneys, right? So I love it that I have vetted attorneys. I have the best in this state, okay, and I have access to the best in every other state. They're all vetted. They're held accountable, not by me, but by a higher organization, right? So I love it. So with all of that being said, that is something you can do. You choose your option. So what I'm saying is, after you enroll, then you download the app on your cell phone, you log in, then complete the will questionnaire today, right? The attorney should call you within 48 hours to complete the will preparation process. Very simple, okay? Now with that last option, then I am I guess an associate with this company because I love it so much. Why not? Doesn't make sense for me not to be an associate. So if you do sign up, then I will get a commission for it. Okay. Now you imagine what that is, only $30, right? So it's not like you have to worry about me going and take a vacation on the commission I'm getting, for your membership. But it is a way that helps me to continue to promote what they're doing, right? And I can help my family out by taking that commission to continue to build this business and do what God is calling me to do. So I just wanted to make sure I'm upfront and honest about that. Okay. So just continuing forward. If you didn't get anything else, okay, if nothing else synced in and it wasn't anything you felt any value of or for, then this last portion as we're ending is one that you will absolutely get value out of, okay? Because this is conversations that we don't have that we should have. So what I said is, when you're going through this estate planning process, then as a part of that, then you're going to write down your assets, write down the things that you actually own. You also may have to actually write down liabilities, okay? It just depends on what route you decide to take. The reality is that for most Americans, most people, period, on the planet, we don't have any idea what our net worth is. We don't even know how to calculate our net worth. We don't even know what the importance or purpose of calculating our net worth is. Okay. So this, for me, again, was probably the one thing that really changed everything as far as my financial mindset and the way that I'm deciding what decisions to make when I started to make them based on my net worth, based on what helped me to actually get into a positive net worth, or what was actually increasing my net worth, or was it making my net worth negative, right? So I wanted to say that. So just pay attention to what I'm saying here. So I said below, I listed a few tools that I believe are helpful in helping you to become more aware of your net worth and your net asset, which are two different things, okay? It's not complicated, very simple. You can see there in the blue, that's how simple calculating your net worth is. Okay, so what you do is you make a list of every asset that you own, beginning with your home or homes, car or cars, right? Your investments and investment accounts, right? So the value of any item is determined by the amount, the highest figure someone would pay for that item today. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you paid $10,000 for it 10 years ago. The question you have to ask yourself is, if I put it online, or if I put an advertisement in the paper, or if I tried to sell it, would they pay me $10,000 for that today? That's how it's measured. What would they pay you for it today? Okay, so when you're putting it down on paper, it's trying to figure out what you believe someone would be willing to pay for it today. Okay, it's very important in calculating net worth. So what is it worth to others? Important. Not what it's worth to you, not sentimental, but what is it worth to others? Not what you paid for it. So once you have listed everything and added the values, now you have the what's called the total assets. So once you have that, you have your total assets. Next, you list everything that you owe. Very important, right? Everybody, every company, everything that you owe, every loan and financial obligation, you have to list it. Okay, if your asset has a loan attached to the item, then list the item that you owe for these items, or list the amount that you owe for these items. Okay, so what you can do is do it in two different ways. You can actually go out, figure out what the vehicle's worth, and then what you owe on it, and separate the two, and you can put that number down. Okay, what I like to do is, to make it simple, is I go ahead and calculate all of my net worth. All of my asset value, and then I calculate my liability value, that number, and I just subtract the two. So you don't have to worry about doing that if you don't want to. But understand that if you have a house that is valued at $500,000, and you have a loan that's $400,000, right? Then that's a big deal. Okay, so it kind of helps to do that. Or imagine if you have in the same scenario, what if you had a house that's $100,000 and you just recently took the loan? So what you actually have paid into it, as far as being equity, it could be like $1,000, right? So that whole difference is actually going to be a liability. You can't count that as an asset. Does that make sense? Okay, just continue it on. But if your asset has a loan attached to it, then list the amount that you owe for these items. This is your total liability. So I'm saying here, do not include the death benefit amount of life insurance, right? But you can include the cash value for whole life or index universal life insurance policies. This is very important. So if you have a term life insurance, you cannot put term life insurance in your net worth, because it only has value when and if you die. Does that make sense? So if the life insurance policy expires before you die, it doesn't have any value to your family. So you can't include that in net worth. But if you have a policy that accumulates cash value that you can actually access if you needed to while you're living, then you can actually include that cash value portion of your life insurance policy. Does that make sense? And hopefully that should drive some decision making as far as what type of policy that you decide to purchase, knowing that benefit, right? So I'm saying here, the net worth equals total assets, excluding any life insurance death benefits, minus total liabilities, right? And it's powerful to understand net worth. The reason why I said that this opportunity based on my credit to give me an opportunity to purchase up to $500,000 of house. Sounds exciting, right? Or same thing with a car. They're going to give me the opportunity to purchase up to $100,000 as far as a vehicle. Even if I don't use the full amount, they're saying we'll finance you up to that amount, right? So here's what happens from the moment that we decide to take that loan, right? From the moment, that same instant that we take the loan, we just went negative net worth. Does that make sense? So if we were at zero net worth and we decide to accept the full $500,000 loan, now I went negative $500,000, boom, in an instant. Or if it's $100,000, I went negative $100,000 in an instant. Does that make sense? So even if I'm not in a even state, If I'm already in a negative net worth, now I just went a $500,000 or $100,000 or $50,000 or $30,000 into negative net worth. It reduced my net worth by that amount. Now, if that's not alarming to you, consider this. How long does it take a person to save $100,000? Right? How long does it take an average person to save $30,000? Right? Let alone $500,000. Think about that. So if it takes us 30 years to save $500,000, then imagine the alarm that we should have in going into negative $500,000 in our net worth in an instant, when it would take us $30,000. I mean, sorry, but it would take us 30 years to be able to save $500,000. So this should be a case when we're thinking about that when it comes to our buying decisions. Okay, here's the reason why. Let's look at the next calculation. Next calculation is net estate. Okay, so net estate and net asset are similar, but this is what we're looking at for your estate planning. This is how your legacy is impacted on our death. It is with the net estate. Does that make sense? Okay, the net estate. So pay attention to what we're saying. So we should calculate our net estate. Do it now. Don't wait, because you probably won't do it. Okay, so do it. Pause this and you can do it. But net estate and net worth are very similar, but they're not the same. Pay attention. So you should do the same thing by calculating their net worth, but here's the difference. That this time you actually include the death benefit of the life insurance policy. Does that make sense? Because this is an actual number that you will or your family will receive upon your death. So you can actually include that. So for some people that are trying to figure out, like, how the heck am I going to get these numbers up so my family can have the benefit from it, then you can actually increase your net estate by buying term life insurance or accidental life insurance, right? Now, when you do that, remember that there's no guarantee that your family is going to get that money, right? The policy has to be in place, and you have to die in what is deemed acceptable for the contract in order for them to be able to receive the payout, right? But still, it's an opportunity. If we're looking at smaller resources, right, then you're trying to say, hey, I really want to make sure my family has an increased net estate amount that they will receive if something happens to me. Let me look at least doing this and then plan for doing something else later. Okay, so everything else is similar, right? So you'll go ahead and write down everything as far as an asset, what someone's willing to pay for that item, list everything as far as a liability, right? What you actually owe, okay? And then you want to make sure you can add in actually the death benefit for the life insurance policy. So if it is term life insurance, accidental, you can add that in for your net estate value. Now, here's the thing that I have to make sure that we are totally unaware of. Okay, I'll make sure I said it. Let me see if I said it there. But estate equals total assets, and I put in parentheses, including life insurance, death benefits, minus total liability. So debt and taxes do not pass away with us. Don't miss this. Debt and taxes do not pass away with us. So they should be included in your estate planning. Here's the reason why this is so important. So when you go out and you see in the newspaper a estate sale, right? You see the billboards up, or you see a yard in some, I mean, a sign in someone's yard that says estate sale. This is the reason why the estate sale takes place. And this is the reason why I say not planning, not having an estate plan in place is not okay. So you see these big, beautiful houses, right? You see all this wonderful furniture. You see all this great property, all these. You say, man, this person was doing very well. Now, here's the problem, that without an estate plan in place, then what happens is upon your death, then it immediately gets locked up. All the assets, everything gets locked up. If you don't have a beneficiary listed on the bank account, obviously it's going to go into probate. Anything that has a beneficiary listed, then it may not go directly into probate, or they'll have it in probate and then they'll make sure it's assigned to that individual because their name is on it, if that makes sense. But here's what happens is that when it goes to probate, now the judge is going to look at, first of all, the debt, right? What is owed, not the assets. We're not looking at the assets first. We're going to look at the debt first. So all the people that we owe during our life, they get a chance to come forward. They get plenty of time to be able to come forward and say, hey, hey, this person owed me this amount of money. Hey, this person owed me this amount of money. So what they do is calculate everything that's owed. Okay, so they get that figure. Now what they do is they look at what is actually has value, right? It could be cash, could be money, could be investments, could be house, could be car, anything that has any value, and they get that portion, together. Now here's the problem: if what happens that the person has more liability, debt, than what they have as assets. Now here's the problem: is that these debts have to be paid first legally. They got to be paid first. So now you have the process of what's called an estate sale that they will go for. So now they're going to sell off everything, sell house, sell car, sell everything to be able to come up with cash so that they can pay the debts. Now, does the family benefit from that? Nope, absolutely not, right? The family's not getting anything out of that. As a matter of truth, they're watching their loved one's stuff being sold off and the proceeds being given to the lenders, right? How traumatic is that? How emotionally devastating must that be to the family, right? So that's what happens in the probate court. Now, if by chance that the assets that you have are cash on hand is enough to satisfy the legal obligations for the debt, then they'll pay those out of that and the family gets the rest. But remember, these borrowers get first choice. After they're satisfied, now they're going to look at the will document, okay, this estate planning information that's in place, and then they're going to carry it out based on what your plan is. But again, if you don't have a plan, right, there's nothing to uphold. Now what's going to happen is they go down a pecking order, and they'll decide based on who was related to the person and what bloodline and what all of those types of things. They have a line that they go through to decide who has first right to the information. And chances are it could be a person that's in line by blood right that you don't want to have your stuff. So the court is going to say, yep, you don't like this person. They're not responsible. I understand that. They're probably going to mistreat your stuff. Yep, probably. But because they're in pecking order, they get it before someone else that you may have wanted to have it, right? So these are the realities that will go on with estate and probate planning. Okay, so anyways, with that said, then I'm actually done with this portion. You actually have this for yourself archived, so you can go back and pause it. You can rewind it. You can share it. You can do whatever you like. Okay, so here's the thing I said, and there is one final option. Okay, here's the final option. One final option for estate planning is what? Doing nothing, which is exactly what about 68%, between 50 to 68% of Americans are doing, right, have done, and may continue to do. Okay. It is doing nothing and taking no action, right? Doing nothing and taking action is a decision. It is a willful decision not to do anything, right? So I'm saying do not be a one of the nearly 1.7 million Americans who die without having a written estate plan in place, right? I don't suggest this option. I said here, and I know it's the truth, that your loved ones deserve an estate plan. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Okay, and I'll end. And I told you that I didn't share much about me as we started, so I'm going to end, and I'm not going to take long with that. If you want to find out more about me, then I'm not too hard to find out more information about. But again, it's more about what your desires are, more about what it is that you are looking to do and what you want to happen for your legacy than it is about me. Okay, so my name is Corey Pritchard. Again, I told you I live in Dayton, Ohio. I'm actually from Louisville, Kentucky, born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky. Actually, from there, actually got a degree in economics at Eastern Kentucky University. And from there, then I was actually in a position where I got multiple licenses. I actually began with a life insurance license, and then a health insurance license. And then from that, worked in a one of the I guess actually still is #1 property and casualty companies, building an agency with an agent for nearly 3 years. So I got my property and casualty license. So I'm very experienced in health, life, property, and casualty. And from that, because I really wanted to know how to deal with the personal finances, then I actually, obviously started to learn on my own, doing stuff on my own. And then the company I work with, we talked about financial advice. That guy, the agent, was actually a certified financial planner. Okay, he went through and got his series, whatever those different series are, so he can actually offer stocks. and those types of things. So again, all I'm saying is I have a number of years of experience, more than 12 years of experience. And I feel very comfortable being able to help you to be able to get into a better place. Okay. So I'm saying it that way. So True Alternatives LLC is our company. And I have multiple branches that I have because it's just things I believe are very beneficial. And I can't offer them all under the same umbrella. So what you're hearing is True Financial Engineering and everything that comes along with that. The goal is to help you retire into God's unique purpose for you. I believe that we're all better off if we're working in God's unique purpose, right? Another part of what I do is in true transformation, which is to help you transform the inner man, right? It's helping you, giving you the tools to be able to do that. And then two more branches is one is in True Health. I believe that true health comes from the inside. Okay. It's a very important part of our life. So if you help the spirit of a man, but don't help the physical body of the man, it's going to be soon that the physical body is going to decay, right? You're going to leave here a lot sooner than you anticipated. So we want to make sure that your life is long, is strong, right? And then when your time is up, you fulfilled everything that it is that God wants you to do. Then it should be a financial legacy, should be a knowledge legacy, right? Information that you're passing on that's valuable to them. It should be wisdom that passes on to them, right? It should be intellectual property that passes on to them. But there should also be a financial legacy that passes on to our families when that time is done. But it shouldn't be at age 20, right? Age 30, age 40, even age 50 or 60. That's way too young, right? So we should be, looking at 120 years, living long and strong, let it pass on, and then let that legacy actually move on. The last area is in connecting businesses with truth-based solutions. That's true marketing. Okay. And I don't work in that as much, but I actually do my own marketing materials. But it's just a case where, again, all these things are available for you. If I can be of any help in any way, then let me know. But most importantly, even if you don't work with me at all, get an estate plan in place, right? Do it. Find somebody that you trust. Find a company that you trust, right? Get it done, right? If you would like to take advantage of something I offer, take advantage of it. Take advantage of it, but don't wait, right? Your family deserves it. You deserve it, right? The peace of mind that you have from making that decision and getting it done, the accomplishment, man, I'm telling you, it's worth it. Get that off your plate. Get that off your subconscious and get that stuff taken care of. And then once you get that stuff taken care of, start becoming a student of wealth. Okay, I have some information, some material that's available on my website that I tag wealth literacy, right? Increasing your wealth literacy. So I encourage that you check that out. Again, if you don't want to check me out, no big deal. Go out and get you some books, get some seminars, check that stuff out on online, and make sure that you yourself, that you are becoming more wealth literate, and you're also in a process of helping your family and your legacy become more wealth literate. Okay. So with that being said, again, my name is Corey Pritchard. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. And again, my goal is to help you retire into God's unique purpose. Okay. So have a great day. Thank you very much.